I usually arrive around 8:30, 8:15, depending if we have staff meeting in the morning or not. And I leave around 3:30, 4:30, depending if we have meetings in the afternoon. But a typical school day, as in when I start being in the class with the students, it's around 8:45, and at 3:15. This placement, I am lucky, for sure. It's around 20 minutes. I actually bike to school because my placement is in Lincoln and I live in Lincoln, so I can bike to and from school. It is different from last placement because first placement I was in Boston, not United States of America, obviously, Boston, Lincolnshire, and it was about 1 hour and a half with a minibus. Usually we would take off 10 to 7 and we would be back around 5 or 6 in the afternoon, again depending if we had meetings after school. The evenings are usually reserved either for lesson planning or for work related to the PGCE, so assignment, reading and writing. I guess when we started in October, it was a very long process, but right now I can plan a lesson in about 20 minutes, assignment-wise and university work-wise. The first assignment was due at the end of January and the second assignment is due half May, so from half May on the work related to university and PGCE is actually done. Biggest differences between the English school system and the Italian school system. In Italy, we have a very teacher-led frontal approach to teaching, so it's not really student-centered as it is in England. We use more books. Students have to have their own books for each subject and they actually have to buy them. The biggest difference, the biggest cultural shock, I would say, for me was safeguarding. So by safeguarding in England, we mean making sure that the students or anybody in the school context is safe and healthy inside and outside the school. So it's a set of things to consider and rules that apply to everybody. For example, at the start of placement, we are all given an ID badge as every other member of staff with a lanyard, and whenever we arrive in the morning, we have to sign in with our ID badge so that the school knows we are in, and in case of fire, for example, there is a list of the staff members who are in that day and they have to double check it to ensure that everybody is safe. The lanyard, it comes in different colors based on the different role of the staff member, and students and other staff members know that if they have a certain problem, they have to go to the staff member with that special color lanyard. I feel like in Italy there are more extremes, so either students who are very well behaved or students who are not behaved at all, whereas in the UK students have a quite in the middle behavior between good and bad. The main suggestion for managing behavior in a classroom is to not get confrontational. So there are a series of techniques that in university and on placement we are taught to try and keep the conversation between the student and us teachers positive and goal-oriented, I would say, to not argue with the student, but to make the student understand why they need to have a good behavior in class. There are a series of things that we are not allowed to do, which is related to safeguarding, as we already said. For example, some schools have a no-touch policy, which means that the staff members are not allowed to touch the students in any kind of way. So obviously, in all of England, it is prohibited to hit a student or to use physical violence to manage behavior in class, but also to use verbal violence, or, for example, to call students names or to, again, argue with them. That's not really considered something we should do. Usually we are taught to find different levels of the same activity that we are proposing to the students, and to just explain the different ways in which students can complete the activity. One will be easier, one will be harder, one will be in the middle, but to explain all of them so that the student is free to choose the level of difficulty that they want. This is to allow students to choose the level they feel more comfortable in and to demonstrate what they can do in every activity. My subject specialism is modern foreign languages, and I'm doing both Spanish and French. But for example, I have course mates who are doing only Spanish or French, and they have been asked to deliver some lesson in the other language. We know about people who were specialized in French, and when they were working, they had to take over German classes, for example. So inside the specialism, we are asked to deliver lessons on topics we probably don't know much about, but also to deliver lessons in subjects which are different from our own specialism. So during the training, this is not something they ask us, but once we start working, it will most probably happen. Hence, some school during interviews ask which other subjects would you feel comfortable teaching other than your specialism. So, for example, in my case scenario, I usually respond history, geography, and humanities generally, because that's what I would like to teach other than my subject specialism. British value is a core component of the PGCE course, mainly because it's a core component of every school day life. British value is a set of values such as democracy, respect, respect for the law, tolerance, and they are embedded in everyday school life. In the classroom, it can either be explicitly taught, so we can talk about it at the start of the school day, for example, during form time. But in general, in every conversation with the students, we can talk about respect, tolerance. What does that mean? What does democracy mean? Most importantly, we have to show that we live by the British values. So in the classroom, we do have to have a respectful attitude towards the students, towards the rest of the staff. There are certain topics that British people don't talk about unless it's with close friends or family. So with British people, you will probably not talk about money or money matters, so income and things like that. You will not talk about bodily functions or relationships, so things that are considered too personal to share with someone else. Safe topics of conversation, well, the first one would be the weather, for sure. They do have a point in talking about the weather non-stop, because it can change daily, multiple times a day actually. You can have the 4 seasons all in one day, so they do talk a lot about weather. During lessons or during sessions at university, it is quite easy to ask a question or to have the help you might need, and the lecturers, on the other hand, do their best to deliver the topics they have to talk about in the best way possible for us to understand. Another kind of support I asked for was to the learning development team. I asked for help while writing my assignment, because it was the first time I had to write academically in English. And I booked an appointment through the website, and they helped me with mistakes, or for example British spelling, which is different from American spelling, and it is very important in academic writing to get it right. Once you start your placement, you are assigned to a school-based mentor, which is a teacher who works in that placement, in the placement school. So usually you will take over their classes and they stay in the class with you, help you out and observe you, and then give you a feedback. And then usually there is a weekly meeting with them in which you talk about everything and create a plan of action, let's say. So it is a very important figure on placement. They do not treat you differently as a trainee. In my experience at least, I felt welcomed as a member of staff by most of the colleagues and the other staff members and the students as well. The students will know that you are a trainee teacher, either because you have it on your ID badge or because, well, they are smart, so they get it. But in my experience, they have perceived me and treated me as their teachers. So that is a very positive thing, I would say. Be organized. Know how to manage your time, because from the working point of view, once you start placement, it gets tricky to do so, because you have placement during the day and then uni work to do while you are continuing placement, and it gets busy at times. So start with a plan, or at least knowing that it will be busy and that the whole point is to find a way in which you can work it out. So work on your, time management and organizational skills. On the other hand, I would say also make sure to allocate time to hobbies or just to rest. So to anything which doesn't have to deal with placement or uni work, because when it gets busy, it feels like you have to give all the time you have to uni or placement, and that's not healthy at all. I go to the gym on my own, and then I do Pilates and yoga classes. I write sometimes. I watch TV series, and I go out with my friends. So you need to look after yourself throughout the year, so make sure to do so.